Great, so this is something I built last class. Kind of looks like a dog. Some people thought it looked like a mouse. So you had asked.
It looks like a pig.
Okay, so listen carefully.
How do you remake it into something? It kind of looks like a turtle, but I think it's a pig. He's waiting.
All right, so if you don't like something you made, for one thing, remember, you don't have a lot of time on Thursday when I see you. You only have 30 minutes. But if there's something I want to rebuild, I'm going to use this clay again. I just squish it, just like you would Play-Doh.
So what happens if it's hardened?
We do not squish it then. If it's hard, then we will just add water to it and it can turn back into clay. Okay? And then we have to massage it and knead it and wait till it's the right consistency. But once it's hard, we're going to fire it in the kiln. But you're only going to get one chunk of clay on Thursday when I see you. So what you need to do first when you get that clay is you're going to split it into 2 pieces. And you're going to be working on a mat just like I am. So I'm going to put one of my pieces off to the side. And because I'm using this clay all day, I'm going to cover mine with a slightly damp cloth to help keep it moist. Now your other half, what we're going to do is we're going to roll it into a ball. Okay? So you can use your hands just like you do Play-Doh when you make a ball. We're going to roll it in our hands, or you can roll it on your mat. Remember, the clay is kind of sticky. So if you try to roll it on the table, it's going to make the table kind of messy. So that's why you're getting a mat to work on to help keep your clay from sticking to the table. Now, once you have your ball, everyone will be making a pinch pot. Okay? So to make a pinch pot, once you have your ball, we're going to take our thumb and we're going to make an indent in the ball. Okay, everybody see that? Looks kind of like an eyeball right now, just sitting on my desk. So now, these are my pinchers. Everybody show me your pinchers. Okay, think of it like a puppet, except the puppet's going to be eating the clay. His thumbs, the bottom of his mouth is going to go in the indent. So we want both our thumbs in there. And we want our fingers to stay together on the outside. And we're going to pinch and we're going to turn. Pinch and turn. And what we're trying to do is not go through the clay, but what we're trying to do is make a bowl. So I'm going to keep going around and around. If my clay starts to crack, which might happen, just use your fingers and smooth it out.
Don't make it too thin.
Okay, so let's say I accidentally make it too thin and I squeeze too hard. Oh, see what happens if I squeeze too hard? It might come apart. All right, so we want to make sure that we're not doing that. So if I make a mistake, which you might, that happens, just start over again. Make your ball. Well, we only have 1 day, so you got to just go for it. All right, so there's my ball. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to make my indent. And then thumbs inside, fingers on the outside, and I'm pinching and turning. Now I want to push on the bottom too. I don't want to just push on the sides. So it's even all the way through. Now when you make your sculpture, you have 3 choices. You can keep your clay like this with the bowl up. You can turn it on its side, and so the mouth is open this way, or you can turn it upside down and have a dome. So it's up to you. Cooper, do you have a question? Okay, we're going to talk about that next. So the first thing we're going to do is make our pinch pot, our cereal bowl. Okay, so now let me show you some clay that some of my DI students made over the weekend. They were making gargoyles, and they are dry. So when clay is dry, before it's fired, it's very fragile. Fragile means it breaks easily. So this is called greenware. Greenware because if this gets wet, it will turn back to clay. So can you see the pinch pot? Okay, that's the top of the pinch pot, the open mouth. They decided to put it on the side. Here is the nose to the gargoyle. Gargoyle is a monster on architecture, on buildings that help flow water away from the building. Sometimes you see them on really old buildings, and usually water comes out the mouth and pours away from the building. So this tongue is coming out of the mouth. If I were to drop this, it would break into a lot of different pieces because it has not been fired yet. Now, this one is also a gargoyle. It's the same amount of clay. Notice the pinch pot is on the sides. Does everybody see that? This one has 2 eyeballs and a nose, and then the ears on the side, and it even has teeth and a tongue. Jed, I see you're raising your hand. Do you have a question? This is another one of my DI students. So now, let's say I decide to turn my pinch pot upside down and make a dome. Gavin?
What if it was fired and then you get water?
Then it would not turn back to clay. It would not turn to mud. It would be permanent. That's a good question. Now, this is my extra clay. Remember when I split my clay into half, 2 pieces? So I'm going to take off a chunk and I'm going to make an ear. And so you can pinch the ear, you can roll it out, mold it, shape it using your fingers. Joshua, I want you to notice up on the board there, we have a paper. And the first step says score. So if you remember, you can use a fork to score. You could also use this tool. This tool, see how it has the rough edges? This also can scratch into the clay. See that? And give it texture. So I'm going to use this tool because I don't have enough forks for everybody, so you can see how this tool works. So I have scored my piece of clay on the 2 parts where they're going to connect. Kimmy, what's step 2 say? Slip. So slip is a mixture of water and clay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of that to 1 part of my score marks. And then Mark, I'm going to slide my fingers underneath to act as support to keep my dome from caving in. And I'm going to push them together, and I want you to notice the water is oozing out. Do you see that? Yeah. We want to push it together so that that water oozes out. So I just did step 3. Step 3 says what, Kennedy? Stick. Now, Eli, what does step 4 say? Smooth. So I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to smooth where those 2 pieces connect. And then that helps keep it from falling off. So if I shake it now, it's not going to fall. It's going to stay.
Even if it's really, really hard.
All right, so now I'm going to make the other ear. I'm going to pinch it and mold it. Remember, it's up to you what you make. All right, so if I just try to stick it on like this, is it going to stay on?
No.
Okay, so let's shake it again. Oh, there it fell off. All right, so I'm going to use the fork this time. I'm going to scratch and score, right? That's step 1. But I also need to score on the bottom here. Okay, Joshua, what's step 2 say? Slip. So I'm going to take my water and my clay mixture, and I'm going to attach it to one side. This is my glue. This is going to make it stick. And then I'm going to put my fingers underneath.
Step 3.
Sticking is step 3. That's right. So I'm going to push it on until that water oozes out. And then, Mark, what's step 4? Smooth. So then I take my fingers and I connect those pieces. All right, so now I have a pencil here. I can draw eyes on. I could draw a mouth. But I could also add things. I still have clay left. I could add a nose. Maybe I'm going to make a ball. Can I just stick it on though?
No.
Oh, there, it just fell off. Did you see that? What do I have to do first? Score. Both parts. That's right. And then what do I do?
You got some score on your mouth.
That's okay. I slip it next. I have to add my glue. What's the next step? Stick it on. I'm going to put my finger underneath to help keep it from caving in. What's my last step? Okay, so now you can use your fingers or you can use the tool. Sometimes the fingers work, sometimes the tool works better, it just depends. Now, do you see how I covered up my eyes and my mouth? So I need to go back and add those. And maybe I will add some nostrils. Maybe I'll draw my mouth way down here. I'm going to draw my eyes. And with the time you have left, you can go back and you can smooth out any cracks you have. Okay. Any questions about the clay? Samantha. You do not get new clay. You have to use the clay you have. So you will squish it. If it's dry, you won't get to see it when it's dry because I'm driving it over to the high school while it's still wet. Okay, so let me explain. Wait. Let me explain. Drying takes 3 to 4 days. You will not get to see your clay when it's drying. So once it's dry, you can't fix it. You can't make any changes because it will be over at the high school where the kiln is located. Now, once it's dry, it's going in the kiln. Remember, the kiln is a giant oven just for clay. And it cooks to 1,800 degrees for this low fire. That is 1,300 degrees warmer than your kitchen oven at home. It takes all day to heat up and then all day to cool down. And then once it's cool, I will bring it back to the art room and then you can paint it, okay? And we will then photograph it, put it in Artsonia, and then we will write a story about it so we can type that as our artist statement. Okay, Samantha, does that answer your question?
No, but what if you messed up and it was dried on your, no, I'm saying, what about you're doing it and then you mess up, and then what about you can't, what about it dries before you put it? That won't happen.
This won't happen. It won't dry. This is still wet, and this will stay wet the whole class time. When the end of art comes, you won't have any more time to work on it. It will be done. At the end of art on Thursday, it'll be done. You only get 1 day.
Why?
because that's all the time we have. We're not saving them because it will dry and you need to be done. Okay? So you only have one class period to work on it, one. So you have to work fast. So that means you need to have an idea in your head. So the first step in the artistic process is to come up with an idea. So some of you already have an idea in your head. Then I want you to plan it in your head. Are you going to have your pinch pot as a dome, upside down? Is it going to be right side up? Is it going to be on its side? You need to decide that before you come to art on Thursday. Then, on Thursday, the next step of the artistic process is to create it. And as you're creating it, you can reflect on it and say, is this working? What do I need to do differently? How can I make it better, right? Okay. Joshua, question?
Is the furnace hotter than a volcano?
No, it is not hotter than a volcano. That's pretty hot stuff, isn't it?
And share.
Yes, so we are going to share it on Artsonia. So once we're done painting it, we're going to photograph it and we're going to type our story in Artsonia. Jet, thank you for raising your hand.
What's hotter, a grill or an oven?
What kind of grill? So are we talking about like a grill you fry your hamburgers on?
Yeah.
Some get hotter than your oven. But the kiln at the high school is hotter than both of those. Okay. Volcano is definitely hotter than a kiln because that's melting rock. Yes, probably. All right, so we need to get ready for PE, so I'm looking for some quiet tables.